Good morning. Guys, I can't get used to this no intro. I usually get time to go for my morning shite during that intro, and now I can't, so I'm holding it in for the rest of the show. I'm already starting to sweat, but it's fine. We'll get through
Well,
this.
David, there used to be the ad revenue that we worried about, but you've definitely ruled that one out for today's show. So crack on, mate. Start as you mean to go on, pal.
It's the shark revenue we're talking about today, boys. Listen, this show is usually dignified, but I've already killed that
Dignity gone, mate.
right from the beginning. Guys, is that the bus driver I see in the corner there? He's joined us on this dignified Sunday together. Morning, everybody. What a surprise to see Mr. Russell Boyce has joined us on the Sunday Blether. You liked it last time you were on, just me and you, and it looks like that you wanted a little bit more of that Sunday.
I was hoping it was going to be the same, but these three tour rags have joined us, David. I was actually hoping it was just going to be me and you again, pal, but we'll need to put up with these three idiots as well, do you know what I mean? Just one of those ones, eh?
Let's introduce these three tour rags, all right? We've got Mr. Friday Night himself. He's up there in that left corner. Phil McGinley. How you doing, mate? You doing good?
I'm all right, mate. Doing good. Another exciting, dignified, sort of, Sunday Blether ahead, I'm sure. So, yeah, looking forward to it, mate, as always.
Yeah, and we've got the judge. And what is that you're sporting there, judge? What is that I see? Apart from your good looks, of course.
No, I was lucky enough to get one of these tops, mate. I think if a few people who ordered them straight away, I think Adidas had to honour the deliveries. But I see a lot of folk get emails saying, look, sorry, but they're not going to be honoured. So I was lucky. Me and my pal managed to get one, but they're really nice, actually. I think it's probably Adidas' best effort, in my opinion, mate.
We're calling it the fingerprint kit, Mr. Kenny.
I think it is, mate, because I could be totally wrong. My site's terrible, but it looks like I can see the ad just now. Celtic in your DNA or something. I can just see it. But it could be wrong.
Liam McGrandle's lyrics there coming out.
Well, that's
very good.
Be written in the back somewhere.
Celtic in my DNA. Imagine if the Adidas have been watching Liam McGrandle's A Guy for Denny and just have went, do you know what, we're going to base a kit on that guy's tunes. That'd be cool.
Why not? He's class.
He is class.
Guys, the real face that runs the place on a Sunday. He is here, Regan Stevenson, in the flesh. Look at that. He's on camera for the beginning.
Hey.
What an absolute treat we have for everybody today. Regan, take it away, mate.
David, it's great to be on, but I hope this Sunday show is not as shite as Celtic were yesterday, because I wasn't. I was not impressed.
Oh, we'll get into that. We will certainly get into that.
This is already becoming the most X-rated and undignified Sunday Blether already. I think it's my presence. Everyone just becomes a nutter.
Well, before we continue with this little wee podcast we've got going on today, let's get through all that good stuff. So, if you like what we do, make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that wee notification button to know when the bus timetable is up and ready to go. And obviously, make sure that you give it a wee share and tell your friends. All right. And also, you can become a Boise Bus member for a small fee of $1.99. It's totally optional and all content is free. It just helps the bus keep turning, keeps the wheels turning. All right. Okay. piesports.com. You guys know the drill. Bus 1888 to get your tasty pasty treats.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we have a new sponsor. Now, guys, don't be like Celtic and finish too early, all right? Keep that performance level high all the way to the very end with ED Pharmacy. Oh, you can bring up there, look at that. There's a wee logo. I'm not quite as slick as Phil with that yet, but we're getting there. I'll take my wee blue pill and I'll be far more slicker. And we'll keep on going. Make sure you put in, is it bus 10? There's the QR code. Get your phones out and give that a wee snap.
Remember as well, free same-day delivery in Central Scotland, which is a huge caveat that they've got, which I don't think many people do. Regan's already laughing, thinking that's an innuendo. That's just one of the facts, Regan. That's just... I'm taking the piss. It's just one of the facts, mate. We've got to read
same-day delivery if you're desperate.
You've filled them up.
That's it. And I think that's all the housekeeping out of the way. So let's swiftly move on. So what have I got in store for today? Well, Celtic plans. What are they? What are they for the future? What are they for the cup? The cup final. We will get straight into that. And after seeing the last two performances, are we going to see the board back and strengthen? And if so, where? There was also a wee comment yesterday. Has the J League really ran dry already? Well, we'll have a wee deep dive into that and see if that really is the case. And of course, Inverness squad, they've been in Northern Ireland to keep match fit. Is it fair that their league campaign finished so early and they've had to go almost a month without any competitive matches? Well, maybe Celtic have thought that they will just have no competitive matches either to make it a bit of a more even playing field. But we'll get into that as well, guys. There's so much to get into. Has Ange's knowledge of the J League ran out in his 18 months to 2-year absence? We will have to have a wee look into that because that could be a relative argument. But let's begin. Who wants to go first? Russell, you're the guest today. You are the bus driver.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You're more than welcome, mate. We're always welcome on the Sunday Blether. You got you had your fair share of what you thought of the game yesterday with Terry, so we won't deep dive into that too much. But I just want to get straight in to that comment you made yesterday. Is the J League well dried up already?
I think it's a debate worth having. And I think sometimes when you exhaust the same field, regardless what it is, regardless what your strategy is, if you keep repeating the same thing over and over again, eventually you'll find it. I mean, the perception of the J League wasn't great. And then we were, to say pleasantly surprised by the quality the likes of Kyogo brought would be an understatement. But that doesn't then mean that the rule changes completely and that the J League suddenly is now this wonderful, absolute heaven of a standard of football that Celtic's just masterminded. Where there's a reason other clubs haven't always been as keen to go to that well as the J League, and I think now we're beginning to see the two sides of the coin. I think for every Kyogo now, there's a Kobayashi, there's an Ideguchi. And I think maybe there's a debate to be had that is it being exhausted to the point where even the J League Player of the Year, Iwata, is he as good as what we'd hoped? Is Hatate and Kyogo the exception at the rule, maybe? I don't know. I'm not saying it's a fact. I just think it's a debate worth having, and maybe it's time to, I think Andrew's alluded to it, we were talking off air about some of his comments that he's made, shots over the ball, maybe they've been aimed at the board, maybe they've been warning shots for the fans to get prepared for what the future is going to hold. When he says you're well off the mark, is that because he's now going to go to a better supermarket than what the jail has provided so far?
So we're gonna start that debate then, because I personally believe that Ange was almost late to the party at getting the best J League players, if I'm being honest. I think when you really look at it deep down, we talk about Kyogo, incredible player, Hatate, incredible player. Maeda has his moments. I really do like him. I'm a massive advocate for Maeda, as I'm sure plenty of people know, and people also are. But for me, I think there are probably plenty of J League players that are out there capable of being a success. The German clubs are increasingly looking to the home of remember Japan are the 4-time Asian champions, right? And German clubs are consistently looking in that market, and they tend to get the better guys. Japan is now one of the top 10 countries in the Bundesliga in terms of player representation. They aren't picking these guys up for the Swiss league. I just think that the German guys, they've been going that well for a long, long time, and I think we are actually just late to the party, and we've managed to get the guys that maybe Kyogo was considered maybe too old and maybe just not quite up to Bundesliga standards at the time, and he was missed. And I mean, I think there is at least 7 or 8 guys playing in the Bundesliga from Japan at the minute that are top tier level Bundesliga players, and there are 3 Japanese guys in the Bundesliga, 2 pushing for promotion. So there's another 3 Japanese players that could be in the Bundesliga next year. I just think Ange's maybe managed to catch the guys that were maybe just not slightly in the Bundesliga radar, and we've managed to get the last best crop of J League players there, and now that well's maybe, well, to be honest, and as I said it at the start of the question, has Ange been away from that league too long now that he's not actually as clued up on that market as he once was? I mean, this guy's been operating in Europe for the last 2 years. Surely his European. He should be looking more at European-based players now. That's his market he's in now. He's not been in Asia for 2 years. So it is his knowledge.
J-League Player of the Year, though, would have been a pretty much a straightforward go-to, wouldn't it?
A guy that was already a player of Ange's, though. So he's a guy that he knew of. Kyogo, obviously, he was aware of him at the time because he was there. And obviously Hatate. He's went back to that well because I remember I liked you when you were one of my players. But he's not been in that J-League for 2 seasons. This is my point. We're always going about, well, he knows that market because he's been a manager for 2-3 seasons. Yeah, but now he's a manager of Celtic in the European market for the last 2 seasons. So surely that is the market he should know better now, or should have a much more extensive knowledge of now, Phil. You know, he's operating in Europe, where apparently he's got this huge database of players thanks to Matt Lawwell, his former Man City recruitment manager.
Yep.
So surely he has more extensive knowledge on European-based players now with that database than he does of the current talent playing in Asia.
He is keeping us guessing quite a bit. Those comments are, intriguing. I think what Russ said earlier on, we could be looking in a better market. I do think we need to branch out and look into other markets as well, because after getting the guy that won the Japanese Player of the Year, we've pretty much got the top guy. And to be fair to Iwata, I know yesterday a lot of fans were, critical response. He was in his wrong position, essentially. We've got to take that into account. But when he's played in his actual position, he's looked fine. Not on Hatate's level. I still think Hatate's a better player, but Iwata looks fine playing in his normal position. But yeah, in terms of
But Hatate was playing there to replace another Japanese player that has been signed from the J League that was meant to be the other centre half. Do you know what I mean? Which brings up another conundrum.
It does. But in terms of all that, like yesterday in the recruitment going forward, my takeaway from yesterday after seeing that was I just hope that when we win the treble, and I did say when we win it, because I still think we will, performances like yesterday are not forgotten, or the performance last week, because recruitment has to be bang on this summer. Because this idea that we've got this great strength and depth and all these great players to turn to, I think the illusion was killed yesterday. So I really hope that in a few weeks it's not a case of, everything's rosy in the garden, everybody. We don't need to improve. So I hope when Ange's saying to the press, you're well off the mark, there is a lot of work going on right now in the background, and some surprise names coming out down the pipeline here are going to get us excited.
Mark, you had your say on the TNF about what you thought of Kobayashi's performance. Now, Ange's comments yesterday, he's probably protecting his players, saying that the reasons for playing Iwata in that position yesterday was nothing to do with his, let's face it, shocking performances, and it was really just to give all these players a cycle of getting game time. Now, I'll push back on Ange and say, well, Kobayashi's not had much game time, so why would you stop him getting game time and play a midfielder at centre back when you could have played the midfielder and dropped maybe Hatate to give him more game time, or give McGregor, our captain, a rest? Thank God he never, because he obviously got the equaliser. However, I just think, well, if you're going to give people game time, well, Kobayashi needs game time, clearly. So why would you take him out?
And I think as well, I've been saying for quite a long time now that the squad depth isn't as fantastic as what it looks on paper, and I think the reality has kicked in a wee bit. And I think yesterday, looking at the team sheet, the two players that were dropped would have known straight away that where they are in Angie's plans. I think they two have fallen behind Angie's expectations and the Celtic support's expectations. I think as well, to be quite honest with you, I think none of the defence played well last night. Yesterday I thought Ralston was awful. I thought Taylor had a bad game, and I think we've got to utilise these performances by these players and look at where we can strengthen. And I'm not just talking about strengthening our squad depth. We've got the money now, and we've got the finances and the structure. We can actually improve on the starting 11. My concern is, like Phil, that people forget that the starting 11 can be improved on, and the squad depth is secondary. And then Celtic won the treble, and it's like, things are rosy again. My concern is that Phil's telling me is wrong, and Celtic do think everything's going to be fine. I'm just glad, to be quite honest with you, that we've not got a Rangers or a very good performing Hearts team in the Scottish Cup final, because you can't just switch off and own momentum. I'm sorry. I think we've been grinding to these performances the last 2 months, and I think we've got through the big matches. We've beat Rangers twice, don't forget, and we've won at Tynecastle and won the league, and we've won a cup final in between that as well. So we can't forget perspective. But I just think that you can't switch it on and off, and I just feel like, thank God, the bigger games are behind us, because this Celtic team is totally starting just now, and hopefully the lessons are getting learned for these last couple of matches and improve the squad, not just the depth, but the first 11.
See the performance yesterday. Did it feel like there was a natural conclusion eventually that we've been heading in this direction? And in fact, maybe the beauty of yesterday was that we got a draw. Yeah, and it's really that was a performance to lose, and I think that performance has been coming, Mark.
Yeah, totally with you. I think if that performance happened 2 months ago, we scrape a win, boys. It's just been, we've just came to the end of it. Not a lucky spell, but there's also much that momentum and all the rest it can get you through. And I think Celtic just came ahead. And I think St Mirren, I've seen
I agree with that.
Playing a lot better than that, and a lot worse than that, and getting a victory at Celtic Park. They were brilliant yesterday. And we mentioned it before the show started. That big boy up front, he looked like he was for a different planet. And to be quite honest with you, when he get in the reserve team, I just thought that. I said it before, just very quickly. I think when Cameron Carter-Vickers is out that defence, we look very vulnerable. Even the goalkeeper looks vulnerable.
Regan, are you concerned about the performances? I mean, we've got Inverness Caley Thistle coming up. They have not been playing competitive football. They won a game yesterday, I believe, in the Northern Irish League. They were visiting over there, and they managed to win 2-1. Their last competitive game, they actually lost, but I believe they've obviously had quite a good season. Are you concerned at all, or do you think this is just a wee blip and the guys are burned out, can't really be bothered? We all know what it's like, when some people's jobs, as long as you get the work done, you can finish early, and and if you do that, you can kind of, well, I'm just going to go because there's really not, the work's been done. You get that kind of attitude. Do you feel like that's kind of what's happening, or is this a dip in form that we should be concerned about heading into this final?
I think, David, I think as Celtic fans, we definitely should be disappointed. But I think in terms of this, it's just shown to the board that maybe we're not as first place as Celtic thought they were going to be, because I think it's very good for next season, because see if Celtic would have won the league at Tynecastle and then won every single game and won the treble, I don't think any of these questions would have been made. But now that we're drawing these matches, maybe Andrew's looked at himself and went, maybe we need to bring in maybe 3 or 4 more players than we actually thought, because I don't know. Me from being in the stadium yesterday, I thought Joe Hart was absolutely terrible. I think we need to upgrade on Joe Hart. I think we need to get a better striker than. I know. Come on, and he smacked the post, but yeah, it's just a bit of a worrying thing. I know it's a bit strange to see when you're 10 points clear, but I think in terms of Celtic, I think that's just the standards that you set when you're at a club as big as Celtic. And I think we've also said it many times, if you want to improve in Europe, Celtic needs to go from strength to strength every single year.
Absolutely. Well, it was 20 years to the day that 80,000 fans went over to Seville to watch us lose that final. We want to get back to a position where we're competing in Europe. And Boise, you've said it many, many times, we have to improve in the transfer market in terms of what we're willing to spend on oven-ready players. That was the term that's been getting thrown about on the bus. When I'm looking at what we have out on loaned players that are coming back, I have a little bit of a concern. I have got the list in front of me of some of our more mainstream loan players.
Please don't read it out, because it actually gives me the
I'm going to read it out, guys.
It gives me the heebie-jeebies.
He's been in the paper. He is desperate to be playing next season at Celtic. He's made that absolutely clear. Mickey Johnson, he has been playing in the Portuguese League. And now, help me out with this pronunciation here, Phil. Victoria Guimaraes.
Victoria Guimaraes.
23 appearances, 1 goal, 4 assists, and this boy wants to walk straight back into this 4 assists. Now, for me, I think the time's up on Mickey Johnson. Boise, I think he's had chance after chance, and people are quite quick to say the boys haven't been given a chance. I think he's had quite a lot of chances. I think, he's not exactly a young player anymore in the grand scheme of things. He's had a loan spell out a very competitive league. You've got the Benfica, Sporting Lisbon, Braga, these kind of guys he's up against. But 23 appearances, 1 goal, 4 assists. It's not lighting the heather and making me that excited about, at least we've got an informed Mickey Johnson. Now, he got an international call-up for Ireland, and he took it. But I still don't believe that, even that international recognition is getting me that excited about him returning. And I don't think he's the answer to going forward with that in the winger situation if we want to improve going forward in Europe.
The key word you're using is improve. It's not about going back to, you were talking about going back to the well earlier when we talked about the J League. Mikey Johnson is an experiment that, for whatever reason, didn't work. And I think if you were resorting to going back to him being the answer to the equation, then we'd be in, I think that's just choppy waters that you're in straight away. I don't think there's any argument for him to be the answer to what we... This is not Celtic trying to find form. This is Celtic trying to improve. We want Celtic to be a better version of Celtic next year. That will not involve going back through the old, the old staff list and going, who's still on the books that we've not given a chance to in a while. That's just not going to cut the mustard for us. No way. I feel it's a very, very compelling summer in terms of, I think the optics we need to look at from the get-go are very reminiscent to where we stood under Rodgers after season 2. Now,
Yes.
Mark's been on the channel plenty of times saying he believes Rodgers is the best manager he's actually seen as a Celtic fan. I think that's a fair argument, and I think it's one that stands up. If he doesn't get backed, what's the basis or what is the belief that we've got that Ange now will be? And the only thing we're hoping and pinning our hopes on is that we've learned from those mistakes. I think there's eerie similarities from that window after season 2 of Rodgers to this window after season 2 of Ange. I think there is comparisons that can be levelled. I think there's comparisons that can be drawn, and it will be very, very interesting to see whether we really have picked the ball back up or whether we're going to revert to type. And I think if Mikey Johnson becomes part of the equation, then don't hang your hat on Celtic having a compelling transfer summer. I don't think he will be, to be fair.
No.
But I've got to be honest and say I think it'll be we'll know within 4 weeks this summer whether Celtic have picked the ball back up and whether they've listened and they've learned. And I think we'll be able to draw those conclusions pretty early on this summer, because for me, what we've seen, and I don't want to dwell too much and talk too long, but we've seen what I think Mark was right when we say it came to a head yesterday, a run of form. I think naturally came to its conclusion yesterday, and the only thing that was surprising was we actually came away with a point. Right? We didn't deserve a point. Yesterday was a performance that to me warrants defeat. But notwithstanding that, the fact it's now occurred, hopefully will refocus minds and stimulate, where it is Celtic's going to go. Not let it languish and let it become, as I say, a summer akin to is that the word? To the summer of 2018.
Yeah. Phil, I'm just going to quickly run through the rest of these loaned out players, and you can let me know, do any of these guys have any future? Now get the heebie-jeebies sorted, all right? Okay. Soro also played out in Portugal for Arusa. 26 appearances, 0 goals, 0 assists. Now, of course, he's not an attacking midfield player. However, he's not had a great season out there either, from what I have been reading. Now, Scales at Aberdeen, he has had 30 appearances. He scored once and had 2 assists. He was given the armband yesterday. I don't believe many players that are on loan at a club have been given an armband. Now, I don't think he has a future, Phil, at Celtic. Not that actually, I think he's had a pretty good season on loan, but I don't believe it's been a case of putting him out on loan to see if he'll come back and improve player. I think it was just to get him off the books, and I think he'll be heading back to Aberdeen. What's your thoughts on Scales? The left-sided centre back who does. I've got a question for Mark after this, but I'll let you answer it first.
I have a funny feeling I know what that question's going to be. Regarding Scales, I think he's found his level at Aberdeen. I mean, he did okay in the games he played for us, the handful he did. In fact, he scored a couple of alright goals as well from defence. There was one against Morton in the Cup and then one up at Tannadice. But ultimately, again, we're talking about improving. And as a player that we signed for less than 500,000 from, was it Shamrock Rovers we signed him from?
Aye.
Is that really the thing that's going to take us to the next level? I think he's came in for that season because we needed players. Remember, Ange had a massive, a lot of holes to fill in that squad. That was one that was definitely a Dermot Desmond influenced one. Came in, filled the hole, played a game here and there, but yeah, he was loaned out at the first chance. Aberdeen were making noise right away, but what to sign him right away. They were that happy with him. I think that's probably his level, and he'll probably stay there. So I can't see Scales coming in and being an answer next season.
Mark, would you rather Scales, Welsh, or Kobayashi, the centre back in the cup final?
The one with more solid skills. I know. It's like no one get one lost. I think he's only person that's not a chance at Celtic, to be honest with you. And I listened to Willie Miller and he said he's a good Aberdeen player, but Celtic level, he didn't think so. And Willie Miller's probably a good judge of a defender, to be honest. And I think, see, the worrying thing is, I expected this time of the season for us to be talking about, right, we're too good for this league. How are we going to start looking at Europe? And right now we're discussing players who were think not good enough for Celtic in the league. Mm-hmm. And that's the reality.
That is my exact point of this.
It's a great point, Mark.
Mm-hmm. It's quite worrying.
It's a harrowing truth that Mark's just said there. When we're back to the debate now, Mark, I was talking about you yesterday with Terry, and I says, when Mark Kenny's telling us in the TNF he wants Stephen Welsh to play ahead of other players. Now, remember the castration you gave Stephen Welsh, and that's not, by the way, unfair. It was just your opinion at the time. Now you're going, actually, he might be the best of the options that we've got available to play in the Scottish Cup final. Then that tells you they've not progressed these options, have they?
No, I totally agree, mate. It's a worry. And it's like, and you're right, I did slate Stephen Welsh, and to be fair, maybe I do sometimes put arms and legs on it, but I don't think he's good enough for Celtic. But when you've seen Kobayashi spinning in circles, and we do know Joe Hart was at fault for some of the goals at Ibrox, but when you see the performances that guy's put in, it was a reality, but it was a harsh reality, I think, for some Celtic fans. And I don't want to keep on mentioning the boy, but Bernabei or not, I didn't think he was as bad as what he's turned out. I did think he wasn't going to be Celtic class, but by God, it's a season now and he's still nowhere near it. And I don't think Greg Taylor has got any fears. Unless we sign a full new set of defenders to challenge the first 11 player this season, I don't think we improve defensively, because my fear is, and it's only, and thank God that Carter is injured, because nobody's going to buy an injured player, really. Thank God, because if we lost him in summertime, boys, does that defence give you a worry going into Champions League?
Oh, let's be real here. If we're having the same conversation 12 months' time ahead of a Scottish Cup final, and it's, do you know what, it might go with Welsh. That tells you then you're not improving the departments that require work. And I think right now, the thing with the Welsh, obviously it's a bit tongue-in-cheek at times back then, but the reality is now you are telling us, honestly, you think he might be the best option to play alongside Starfelt in the Scottish Cup final. How have we got there, Mark? How have we got there for September to now? That's frightening.
And do you remember we done a pre-season show and I says, I reckon the team that will start the season will be the same as last season. And we're like, no, that'll not happen. I said to the big guy next to me yesterday, I'll get the same fear. We're going to have the same starting 11 next season, minus maybe one of your exceptional players. And I was like, I hope the fuck I'm wrong. I thought, God, who knows?
Right. You are right though, Mark. We've had 2 windows. The last 2 windows we've signed 10 players, I think, roughly. Let's just say it's 10. Alistair Johnston's the only one that gets in the start lineup, and bear in mind he was to replace someone we were being described as a world-class right back. Now, I personally think he is an improvement on Juranovic, but the reality is, if you're being honest, Celtic fans, we were told that Juranovic was a worldie, a £25 million right back. We replaced with a guy for the MLS, a Canadian international. we replaced a 25 million Wilde at right back. Out of the rest of the players we've brought in the last 2 windows, none of them getting that first team.
No.
On that basis,
No.
Regan, is Ange's credit in the bank beginning to dwindle in terms of his hits and misses on signings? On what's just been said, is that a fair statement that Ange's maybe, we've said, has the team really improved much since the last few transfer windows? Now we've always said now he's got plenty of credit in the bank in the signings that have been hits. Absolutely, but is he beginning to dwindle them a little bit and waste that credit with the signings of Barnaby, perhaps Kobayashi? Is that a fair question? I'm only asking the question.
David, I think that's bang on, and I know Russell took a lot of criticism at the start of the season when Moy was playing for Celtic, but I mean, at the end of the day, if you look at next season, right? Next season, we're probably going to still have Moy in the midfield, and Moy looks like he's towing a caravan at the moment. So it's still very worrying. And I think the one player that we will lose this summer will be Rio. I think Rio will go. I think he will. I think if you're looking at our midfield options, you've got Iwata, you've got Moy, you've got Mal O'Reilly. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I don't fancy the options for the start of next season.
Who, O'Reilly?
No, but I mean, if you're hanging your hat on for Moy and O'Reilly for the base of midfield, I think we still need to improve.
I agree, definitely, Regan.
I think O'Reilly for me though is one that I look at and I go, that was a good bit of business.
Yeah, absolutely.
I compare it to the signing since O'Reilly and I go, nah, mate. Like, well, look how many options we've had now. You forget that Danish guy with Abelgard was signed last summer and all that. I mean, fucking hell! Like, how many guys have we brought in since Matt O'Reilly that haven't improved on Matt O'Reilly? And maybe it's an easy stick to beat O'Reilly with that we think we can do better than him. But the proof's in the pudding. Celtic have not improved in that department whatsoever. Yeah, I've had many goes at it. They have had many goes at the market now. When you look at those last 2 windows and the volume of players Celtic have signed, when you start going, none of them getting the first team. And I know Moy was a bit of comedy on my part, maybe the same way Mark was. we were talking earlier about other players that were fallen foul of our harsh tones. But I think when you look at Aaron Moy, you go, he had 2 months flash in the pan.
Yeah.
And that's not a compelling signing. That he is as underwhelming as what I thought at the time. But that's not me trying to be proven right. I think Alistair Johnson is the exception to the rule of our last 10 signings. That's not building for a position of strength for me.
Let's not forget that we tried to bring in players to, cover Cal McGregor at the number 6 role, if you want to call it that, and it was O'Reilly that was the favoured player there. You know what I mean? Even in a position that he's not comfortable or been known for playing in, he was the better option. Now, that's not necessarily that's a great thing, but it puts a bit more weight in the argument that I think O'Reilly.
Well, David, we'll just say that we've played Kobayashi. We've played Iwata, number 6 at centre back. We've seen Juranovic play left back rather than the left back we bought. We've seen O'Reilly play number 6 rather than Abelgard, rather than McCarthy, rather than Deguchi. You know what I mean? We've seen Abada play up front rather than another striker. You go, he's an exceptional first 11 he's put together, but I think being honest about the players we've brought in as backups and squad depth and saying, look, majority of them are just guff. I don't think that's a slight on us saying, look, Ange is spent wrongly badly at Celtic. He said maybe 50% hits and 50% misses, but you're right, the perception is he's hitting the trigger every time and he hit the target every time. And I'm not so sure it is because I think I trust this guy with money. I really do, because I think you give him 30 million, he will spend it wisely. But I just think
and see, when he spent money, Mark, he spent money well.
The
more expensive players, they're actually the hits. It's the ones that have cost key or that are not being.
How many of the signings do you think the ones that are maybe not been great have been the ones that he's maybe taken off a database rather than guys that he's seen with his own eye and liked and enjoyed watching.
Well, I'll say this one thing about
there's
that.
guys that have passed the eye test, and there's guys that I think have been signed based on stats and data. And
surely, David, we can't have it both ways. Like it's the same as yesterday's performance. We've been told that these performances don't happen under Ange. We don't fall asleep with Ange, and then they go, this guy is so much on the button with Celtic that he is meticulous. And then and we all take that on board, but they can't have it both ways. I mean, the couple most expensive ever left back can't get a game because we don't trust him. Bernabeu is the most money we've ever paid for a fullback in 140 years, whatever it is. And the guy, in my opinion, shouldn't be getting a game for Celtic. Period. We've got a centre back who the manager's admitting is not good enough to play at centre back, and we've got players all over the park, number 6 especially, who we've picked almost guys for the stands rather than playing them in the centre back at number 6. And it's all fair points. I just think the crux of this conversation is we all want Celtic to improve, and we don't improve by buying abo guards. And let's be honest here, we don't improve by even buying guys like Haksabanovic either. We need better than that.
And Phil, I've not heard from you for a while. We were talking about oven-ready players on the TNF. I believe it was the TNF oven-ready players, and this is the crux again of the whole conversation. It's like, well, if these guys aren't the ones that we should be looking at, and they've not really made it, who is this oven-ready player that we want to see a Celtic fans signed that excite us in terms of where they maybe play, in positions, cost, value for money, and experience. Now that is a lot of boxes to tick.
Yep.
And it's a very it was said in the TNF, what is an oven-ready player? We don't really know, and it's going to be a difficult one. But as we've talked about the positions that we need more Croatian. We'll look at that Croatian market, Monty, and we'll figure that one out.
That's good, pal.
Maybe Luka Modric can join. I think he's finishing up at Real Madrid at the end of the season. Maybe Modric can come and play a year at
Matt
Celtic.
O'Reilly, mate.
Get past O'Reilly.
Get past Matt O'Reilly.
You pick the wage structure. Wouldn't be worth it.
Big boy.
No, Modric was very complimentary of the atmosphere at Celtic Park when they pumped us early in the season. So, he can come and enjoy it every week.
Well, Phil, I've been doing a wee bit of scouting on players that I think I would like to maybe see Ange look at. I'm sure people will tell me don't even bother. Don't even they'll never come. They'll not even prove. But these are guys that I think that we could that tick some of the boxes in terms of an Ange player, an exciting maybe transfer fee that shouldn't be wasted and would compete or get straight into our starting 11. And the first one up, Scottish international Che Adams. He's 26 years old. He's very quick. He's strong. He's not been prolific for Southampton this season. However, this guy was banged in the goals at championship level with Birmingham a couple of years ago. He's a guy that I actually wouldn't have mind signing before he went to Southampton. He ticks that Scottish international box. Does he do it for you? Is he an improvement on O?
Actually, I agree with that.
Currently, yes, I would say so, because he's established. The only issue I think with a player like him, and even though Southampton have just been relegated, he's going to still have some sort of Premier League tax on him because he's played in that division. He's done no bad in that division at times. Get him off the books. I got off the books. Although it depends how much they get with the patch moves. But I like Che Adams. I think again he fits that we never stop role. He's always got energy. He's always running. I've always been quite impressed with him when he plays for Scotland. His goal record for Scotland, and again you've got to take into account the way the Scottish national team play. It's not amazing, but in terms of if you put him in a team that is constantly on the attack and constantly has the ball like Celtic, then I think he could. He would be quite a decent signing, I think. I don't think they'd be looking for a ridiculous price. I don't think you're looking at 10+ million for him. But I think that's a decent shout. That's, I think, within the realms of possibility.
I love it. I like it. I think David's doing a good job here, mate. I like your scouting work so far.
I've got a couple more.
That's a hit. That is already 1 out of 1, mate. Your strike rate's as good as Ange in the transfer market so far. I like it.
Right, well, here's another one for you, boys. He's another. Now, I'm going down the Southampton well a little bit because they're due us a few fucking favours.
The new J League. Southampton.
The S League. All right, this guy is someone that I really wanted us to sign when he played for Blackburn. He went to Southampton for a fair fee, but I think he's kind of in that sort of 10 million bracket as well. He can play at right wing as well as left wing and up front. He is Adam Armstrong. He's a Southampton forward. He's very quick. Now, he's struggled at Southampton, however, this guy at Blackburn in the EFL was excellent. Frightening pace, 28 goals and 40 appearances in the 2021 season. Like I said, he can play at right wing or left wing. You'd be looking at about 10 to 12 million, I reckon, for this guy. But that boy excited me at Blackburn. I thought he was a cracking player. And he was a guy that I would have really liked to see.
Came through the books at Newcastle, didn't he?
Yeah,
I think he went to Coventry on loan, and he excelled there as well.
Yep, he's a good player. I think the Premier League maybe was, and especially in a struggling Southampton team, has been a step too far. But that boy ripped up the Championship.
I wonder if Phil's got a point though, Mark, when you look at what he's saying about the Premier League tax, and that's probably been the biggest off-putter for if you're going to take a shot in the dark. You can't really afford for it not to pay off if it's a Premier League or an English player, a player coming from the English leagues, because it costs just a wee bit too much for it to be a miss.
So now people might put the argument to me that, well, look at Ajeti. Now my argument back to that would be Ajeti couldn't get a game for West Ham. These guys were playing week in and week out at Southampton. They were first, and yes, maybe not prolific. I don't think anyone at Southampton had a good season this year. However, do not write them off as bad players because of that. I'm going to the old Liverpool scouting sheet. Right, well, here's one to counter that, and this one's for Mark because I know he hates this left-back position that we need sorted. So I've looked at the Bundesliga for this guy here. His name is Paulo Otavio. He's a left-back playing for Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga, and he can also play in midfield, so he may suit that inverted fullback role. This season, he's got 5 assists. He is the third most assists in his team. The 28-year-old has been in the starting lineup for pretty much all of 25 games of the season. He's played 25 games of the season. He's quick, he's strong, he likes a tackle. You should look at his YouTube stuff. He's a bit mental, I will say that, which we might need a bit of dig. If you watch his clip, you'll see a 2-footer that was a bit of a belter, but he almost won the ball. He's the third. What does it say here? He's in starting lineup. He's also got Champions League and Europa League experience. And he's only valued around about 6 million. He's 28 years old, and he's in a struggling Wolfsburg side. They're not exactly, sitting up at the top of the Bundesliga, but I think a player that we could look at. He's very quick. He likes to attack, but he likes a tackle. And I've got one more. So, I'll let you. What's your thoughts on a player like that? Does he, a 6 million rated left back playing in a much more competitive league than an Argentinian league? Likes to tackle, likes to get forward, but he's also very good on the ball from looking at him last night.
Well, I think that's important, David. If you're going to play in this Ange team, you're going to need to be comfortable on the ball. I mean, we're all criticising certain players like Joe Hart, for talk's sake, because he's just no go at that ST's game when he's comfortable with the ball at his feet. And I think Celtic play a lot of their football for the back. You know what I mean? So you've got to be comfortable. If you're saying he's in a kind of attacking fullback who can play in midfield, that shows you that the guy's very comfortable on the ball. He can overlap. Maybe be an upgrade on Greg Taylor if he's playing at that kind of level and performing.
He's got Champions League and Europa League experience as well. Not a lot, by the way. I think. I love how he gives the judge the guy he probably never heard of.
Any more curveballs for me, David? Sunday morning, for fuck's sake, you're throwing in guys out.
Throwing you in
the deep end. I thought you were a Bundesliga connoisseur.
I think that's a very acquired taste. No, to be quite honest with you, mate, these kind of players excite me, when you look at their profiles you mentioned earlier on, and you go, right, okay, if that's they're performing at that level and they're able to play the ball for their feet. Sometimes that actually worries me when I love Greg Taylor. And sometimes they can be really classy on the ball. It really surprises me sometimes how good they can be. But a lot of times that he's got that wee final bit just missing for him. And if we can upgrade on that, then I'm all for it, mate. And one thing I will say is, I think, see a hard challenge and all the rest of it, that's not as important to me as what it is to Rangers fans. When I look at Arthur Johnson, I love the fact that he wears his heart on his sleeve. But my worry is, seeing me play against teams like Rangers, whose tactics are to get the ball into the box and try and hit only loose balls in the box. We don't need guys giving away free kicks 30 yards for goal every couple of minutes. And that's something that worries me in Europe, is because we don't get exposed too much in Scotland, but aerially we come a cropper a few times with teams that are kind of set up to beat you with their tactics. And for me, there's got to be I'd rather have a player who's maybe going to the ability to put a hard challenge in, but does it as a last resort. Not somebody who wants to take the ball and man every time.
Watch that clip and you'll see that's a last resort tackle. Fuck me. Right, last one, and this one's for Regan. I had one for everybody, so this one's for Regan. Now, I've seen Paul Dyatt and a couple other guys saying we should maybe look at the MLS. Why? We've already got a brilliant right back from the MLS.
True.
Yakimakis is he's went over there and he's tearing it up. Well, this guy this guy here, I think, fits the bill. Now, this one might cost a bit. Now, this guy, his name is Thales Magno. He's a Brazilian winger playing for the MLS, and he's also playing for City Group team New York City FC.
Oh, yes.
Right, so he's on our
connections. Yes.
He's on our database, guys. He's on our database. All right, we've already had a success so far this season with MLS, so surely we are looking there again. Magno is an exciting 20-year-old winger. He's bagged 8 goals and 8 assists last season in 35 games, and he's already off to a good start with 3 goals and 1 assist for the current season. He was included in the Guardian's Next Generation 2019 talent, and he's valued in the region again around 15 million euros. Now, that's a hefty price tag for a guy in the MLS, but when he's in that City database, I think it's, they don't buy duds. They want, and if City like him, they probably just bring him over to them because they could do that. But he's an exciting player in the MLS, a league that a few of our fans in the comments as well are suggesting that we look at again. Regan, is that a kind of type of player that would excite you? Expensive for an unknown player, and probably the fact that he's Brazilian probably lifts that up. But playing at New York City FC and a more competitive MLS league now than it's ever been.
I definitely think it's a market we should be going in, because look at Johnson. He's been very good. So I definitely think it's a market that I should be looking at. And I think he would do well. I know you're saying it's a big price tag, but like we've spoken about before, I think if Celtic want to improve, they need to go and spend money. And I think it's about time we broke that transfer record for Edward back in 2019, because 10 million quid now is no big money. So I think if you're looking to this guy, I mean, David, let me ask you a question. Do you think, see in terms of Abada, do you think we'll get much for Abada? Because see if we get rid of Abada, we could potentially sign this player.
Yeah, I think we would get a region about 10 million for Abada. I think looking at his goal ratio, can he improve in a lot of areas? Aye, but I think he's a international.
Is that as good as?
I just see Mark's reaction. His eyebrows nearly actually fucking knocked me out there.
Was that your reaction to what to my comment there? Or was this?
I think you said 10 million for Abada, and Mark nearly knocked me out with his eyebrows. He's like, what?
Do you not think so?
It's good stats, mate, but I don't think if you're paying £10 million you get a player that quality. I hope you're right. By God, I hope you're right. But I think you'd be talking 10 million lira or something. There's no danger. It's good as I think. But I hope you're right, David. I hope you're right, big man. Yeah, I really do. Because
I'm taking into consideration his stats, his contract
really
length. The teams that are looking at him apparently. Listen, why the fuck not? I don't understand why we are bending over backward and saying I have him for 5. Okay.
But let's be honest though, we all get the fear when we hear £10 million involved with Celtic now. we're conditioned to think, and I think Regan's on the money. He goes, it's absolutely nonsense money in other leagues. 10 million. I know. Let's get in the real world. £10 million is a hell of a lot of money. I know cost of living crisis and all that shit, but it's a drop in the ocean in football terms. A drop in the ocean, and we're conditioned to go, Iwata for 10 million. We couldn't sell him for that.
David,
Could we buy a player for 10 million? We shit the bed at that as well.
David, we've just made in the region of, I think it's £70 million over the past 2 years from getting Champions League football. So we should be shopping in the big markets.
So Regan, you're absolutely right. But this was kind of almost the point of this sort of bit of fun scouting that I did, right? Is the players that we want to sign for big money do not want to come and play for Celtic in our league, because they can go to even the Belgian league, the bloody English League One, and make more money, and find a way to get into the Premiership that way, than coming and playing against the likes of Ross County, Livingston on plastic pitches when they could be playing with the best players in the world. I mean, look at Club Brugge; they're getting in the Champions League every year. So this whole couple of Celtic, you got in the Champions League, you got more chance of playing in the Champions League with Club Brugge than you do with Celtic, and that's the reality. And it's a far more interesting country to go live in as well. You know, this is the, and that's why I'm like looking at players that who could we look at that's in that price range, that have got maybe that little bit of experience, international experience, whatever, that would maybe be interested in coming and playing for a club like Celtic in our waters. And looking at these big markets, like tried and tested Premier League players, no hope in hell in signing. Go and watch that. There's a new documentary on Paramount about the money that dropped into the Premier League when the likes of Abramovich and that came to Chelsea. And even like the guys that were buying Leeds United and that, we do not stand a chance in signing guys that we would love to see us compete for nowadays. We just can't do it. And that was, yes, of course, Ange isn't looking at any of the players that I've brought up. These are just guys that I thought maybe fitted the bill. You know, let's face it, guys, I'm way off the mark. David. I'm way off the mark.
Well off the mark.
Off the mark, mate.
I think, to be honest with you, the guys that you've named are quite interesting. I don't think they're as far off the mark as you're making out, mate.
They might appear on the sheet. They might go in the database this season for having to look at. I wouldn't be shocked if they guys are on it.
Well, would you be shocked at the thought of Ange looking at guys in the £10 million bracket? Are we conditioned to think, because Celtic don't operate in those swim in those waters, so we go £10 million, that won't be us? Or is it fair now to go, the reason he's been a wee bit gallus, you could say, in the presser is because he's saying, no, like, we are going up a level here this time, and if not, I'll see you later, adios.
I think so.
I think £10 million, I agree with you. I think £10 million, it's the kind of money we should be spending. I think folk, they get scared of even £5 million price tags. They're like, oh, they want us to go bust. No, we can afford it. It's relative. I mean, we spent £4 million, I think, on Phil O'Donnell in the mid-90s with Fergus McCann in charge, and we're balking at the
Tommy Johnson.
Aye, let's spend it. I mean, it was Alan Stubbs' with $5 million 25 years ago. Yep. Let's spend it. We've got it. The rainy day's been. We've survived the rainy day. It was a tornado, and we survived it, and we've come out the other end stronger. So let's just go, mate. I don't think £10 million. I'd be shocked because I think Celtic should be spending it. I'd be shocked because I'd be going, oh God. But the question I've got is, if we don't do it this summer, are we ever going to do it?
No, we'll never.
We're in the best position we've ever been in terms of revenue. I think so. We're going. I mean, now this might come across totally ignorant, right? But we looked at, now you said it on yesterday's post-match push, Boise, that wasn't our first South Korean target. It was Cho, right? It was pretty much written there as fact. You can argue that to the cows go home. But I mean, Cho was heavily liked. He even been in the papers and said that, you know, he didn't feel like he was wanted enough from us, yada, yada, yada. We go straight to another South Korean. Now, we're going to South Korea on a tour. Now, we're going to Japan because we've got a bunch of Japanese players that have obviously been a success, and it completely makes sense to go to Japan and visit and rake in a bunch of cash for the club. The club went, here, well, South Korea's not far away. Well, we just sign a South Korean boy. All right, Cho doesn't come. We'll just sign another one and we'll go on tour. Now, I'm not meaning to come across like, oh, that was a total lazy signing, but if it just makes me worried that, the guy that we actually wanted doesn't want to come, but we could really do with it. We had plans to go to South Korea as well. So we're not going to go to South Korea without a South Korean player. And we went and signed. Now don't get me wrong. I think O's going to be a great player. I think he will become a good player. Like some of the comments, but he is. He's not been picked up by the South Korean national team to come and play at the World Cup, and then obviously be dropped because a world class player like Son is fit. He obviously is the future of South Korean football, maybe, and we have been lucky enough to get a hold of him. But I do wonder if it was a case of, well, we've got all these plans for marketing reasons. We need to be looking at that market still so we can continue to do that and not focusing on players that actually are perhaps more in the mold that we need for next season. I don't even know what my question was there, Phil. I went on a tangent, to be honest. But you know what? Once you start thinking out loud, I go, actually, am I talking? But
I think there's a bit from column A and column B. There's definitely influence on money. Everything in football is about money. So there's always going to be that thought in your head about, we go on tour in this country, we've got a player that's one of their internationals, that's going to get interest, that's going to up ticket revenue. So there's going to be that logic as well. But I do also think that the same is true about where I know a lot of fans have made their mind up already on what they've seen. And that's their gift to do so. But you're right, he has been picked in that squad for a reason. Jurgen Klinsmann has came all the way over to Scotland to watch him at one point as well for a reason. He was at that World Cup squad. So he's definitely got something to him. We just need to...
Look how many angles we're looking at this from. Here's the long and short of it, Phil. Did he improve on Giakoumakis, yes or no? And that's what we should really be basing it all on. Did Giakoumakis leave to be replaced with an improvement?
No.
Yes. And that's all we should be looking at. And see, all the other stuff is fanciful for us to even get involved in those waters. Was it based on a tour, etc.? Let's just look at it and cut it all back and go, look at Celtic as a team. Were you more confident with all coming off the bench or Giakoumakis? There's your answer. And then whatever your answer is, then you can decide whether we've improved the squad or not.
Has he been given any more chance than Giakoumakis? I think he's been given less of a chance than Giakoumakis as well, which is interesting.
No, I don't know.
I think he's been given more.
I think he's been
he's had more. Do you?
I don't think Kyogo for Giakoumakis at Ibrox. I don't think he would have did that. I think we were all calling for that because I remember the conversation. And you're right, David. I think the time scale is quite small. We can say was it about 5-6 games, and you're right. The time scale does a bit easy chances, and I think I must admit, seeing he turned and hit the post yesterday was a great dig. I don't see much in him. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think he's no Giakoumakis. I know that there's a big age difference, but the question is, does he improve the team for this season? I don't think it does improve the team for this season.
And that's all I want. I think these are the very simple, stripped back questions that we should be looking at as fans. We shouldn't be getting into the realms of worrying about, was it for a tour, was it for this? Regan, your eyes don't lie. Do we have a better option now up front for Kyogo with O, or do we have a better option with Giakoumakis? And I think when it comes to the honest truth, we know what the answer is to that.
Because I think as well, see on the bus about a year ago, everybody on here was saying, I don't know if Giakoumakis is the number one striker. I don't know if Kyogo is. But now we know Kyogo's the number one striker because O's not showed us that he's a very good player. And again, that David is saying he's not had many chances. Well, I'll tell you, David, Kyogo and O have played up front 3 times already. We never got to see that under Ange with Giakoumakis and Kyogo. Never. We've already seen it 3 times. And I think the time, I'm not being disrespectful, but Subino comes on against Ross County, I think it was, and he scored that goal. And Celtic were already 2-0 up. So we're not getting to see this guy when the pressure's been on.
When the chips are down.
Yep.
When the chips are down. Again, I think we could just have a very straightforward debate. Sometimes we almost try to be too clever. Sorry, David, but just like, I think we just sometimes look at the opposite thing. NM's been in the chat saying, are we in a better position than we were this time 12 months ago? And if you want to keep pushing that narrative, I think it's fanciful. Because you can't have your cake and eat it. You can't tell me that we had a world-class right-back and Juranovic is worth £25 million and then also tell me Johnson's an improvement on it. Whilst my actual opinion is, he is an improvement on it. I also think you're carving arguments to suit your agenda. I think the reality is Celtic haven't strengthened in the last 2 windows to the level we thought they would.
I think that's fair. And do you know, David, just spot on, mate, because you're saying like longer term, this guy's got the potential to be better than Jackie Marcus, and you might be right there. I hope you're right.
He's got to get the chance.
In terms of, I don't think after players. Sorry,
he's got to get the chance to, and I don't think he will unless Hugo breaks a nail.
You're right, mate. Of course, I would think, but it's like one hand's got to wash the other, David. You've got to really take your chances when you do get them.
Yes.
And I know that sounds quite harsh, and I know I'm more harsh sometimes, but I don't think it's unrealistic as Celtic fans that us to want players who are going to impact the team almost instantly. We're now 4 months in his stint at Celtic, and I've not saw a performance of him yet that I've thought he's going to do it for me. And do you know what? I hope you're right, mate. I just don't think that, if you're being honest with ourselves, just now, I think if the league wasn't won already and you had O up front, I'd be worried. But if we had Giakoumakis, I'd be fairly content. And you can't hang your hat on somebody who's a prospect or a project or a maybe will be. You've got to improve. I think the next generation can be put aside. You've got to improve the starting 11 just now, and then bring in players to kind of complement the squad. You can't have players who are projects being brought in to try and win your football matches, because it doesn't work that way, I don't think.
Does it give them a comfort blanket as well, Mark? Where you go, you're signing guys, then once they get that tag of they're a project player, it almost gives them a free pass not to achieve what we're striving for. And it deflects from the argument. And I think that's where we're going, what is actually happening here? We're not a project club, we're not Stepping Stone FC anymore, so we're told. So why does that then become the default? Like, he looks okay, he's got potential. I don't want that.
He's South American, he's only 24 and all the rest of it. And you go, all right, okay, and fair dues. But I think all I want to know is the players that's on the park are improved every year. Any business, David, you know better than anybody here, any business looks to improve year in, year out, right? And I don't think the team has been improved the last couple of windows. And I'm not just saying that because it's been doing this road. I generally don't think that the squad, the first 11 you've got, is any better than the 11 that was our best 11 this time last year. I really don't. And Alistair Johnson aside, to be fair, the rest I think is the same 11 as last year, unless I'm mistaken. I'm not sure.
No, you're not wrong. You're not fucking wrong, mate.
I hope next year there's maybe 5 changes or 4 changes, and it's like, all right, we sell just say Abada, but we've got this boy for the City group. He's got to be electric. I don't think we've got that just now, mate. And I think Celtic fans who suffered the bad times with Celtic, knew seeing the good times with Celtic, knew see there's money in the bank, I think we've got a right to say, right, let's go and spend it. I think we've got a right to say that.
And I think as well, I made this point to you last week, David. In terms of all right, what happens if Keogh gets a 6-month injury in pre-season? Would you be confident for O to go in and be that striker? Because Giakoumakis was certainly for me with total self-confidence, because Giakoumakis played against Rangers, did very well. He should have been the number 1 striker, in my opinion. And I just think O should be complemented with 2 really good strikers. And unfortunately,
spot on.
So, hang on. So, just make sure I get the question right here. Do you still believe that Giakoumakis should have been our number 1 striker last season?
I still think Giakoumakis should be number 1 striker right now. I think he's.
No,
I think,
come on, no.
No, I think he's. I think.
I'm not having
I
that.
think,
I'm not having that, Regan. Come on.
I think he's.
Come on.
David, I think he is.
How many goals? Now Giakoumakis played well against Rangers, right? How do we judge?
Giakoumakis.
Let me finish. How do we judge a Celtic striker by how many goals he scored against Rangers? How many goals has Giakoumakis scored against Rangers?
I'm not sure.
How many goals did he score against
Rangers?
0, you're going to say, innit? 0.
0. Thank you very much.
David.
And we will move on swiftly. So,
Giakoumakis finished the top goal scorer last season with 14
against
goals.
Duds, mate. Against Duds.
I'm not going to say that either. I think Regan's right in what he's saying to an extent. I think Giakoumakis should have been part of the equation. I think O comes in to complement Kyogo and Giakoumakis.
Yes.
And I think O's arrived to replace Giakoumakis. I think that's where we've missed the boat a wee bit. For me, it was O comes in as a complementary addition to those two guys. Whether you've got Kyogo as number one or Giakoumakis is you're a naughty little bastard, David, and I love it.
I think it was on the TNF through the week there. It was your dad that said this. I think it was Johnny Logue that talked about the game. At the start of the season, we beat them 4-0. Kyogo gets injured after 1 minute and Giakoumakis was coming on.
Yes.
We were all very excited about that. Now, put Owen in that
Thank
position.
you, Johnny Logue.
He started last week at Ibrox. Was anyone looking at the game last week?
Did he score in that game, though?
Thank you, Johnny Logue.
I thank you, Johnny, for producing
cheers, Johnny.
This. And no ED pharmacy was needed back then, but I'm telling you, it probably does need it now. But anyway, the heavyweight champion of the world doesn't have to win every round, but he holds the belt, and we hold the belt. That was Ange Postecoglou. Well, yes, the heavyweight champion also looks back at his fight and sees where he went wrong in those rounds. So, and then he gets himself back in the gym. So let's get back in the gym, guys, and be ready to start swinging and taking another belt. Take all the belts and be the undisputed heavyweight champions of the Scottish League. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on this wonderful, dignified Sunday Blether. What's this?
For another hour, mate.
Look at that point down there, David. Look at that point down there.
Kyogo just started scoring against them. Come on, Giakoumakis was joint top scorer with 2,000 less minutes in the top.
Thank you.
But
Thank you very much.
but how many goals? Who cares?
He's
away. He's away. Why? Stop looking at the past. Look at the future, Regan. Listen, I was ready to wrap up this show, but listen, I was given the go home cue. But if you're wanting to keep going, I'm happy to keep going.
We can keep going for a wee bit. I think everyone's enjoying it today, to be honest.
Well, I've ran out of material, so Regan.
All right, so let's talk about Giakoumakis a wee bit more. No. I think the debate though is that we've got to look at the last two windows for me, and accept Celtic haven't strengthened as much as maybe it was described as. I think that's fair, and I think when we go into this window now, the eyes need to be open, and we go, are we going to? Nobody cares, me. I think we do need to be in a position where we look at this window and go, let's start scrutinising it again. Let the feel-good factors there, and the trophies are there to back it up, etc., etc. But maybe it is okay to start going, actually, are we going to improve again next year? Are we going to go to this next level, that the promised land that we spoke of? One question I'd like to put to you, Phil. Obviously, I felt, and I said this to you privately, I said, the images of Ange laughing and joking with Peter Lawwell in the stands were no coincidence. I felt that was done once the league was won. Now we then see the meeting photos, Phil, and I go, what's happening here? I'm not saying it's a negative. I'm not saying it's a positive. I'm not saying it means a new 10-year deal for Ange, and I'm not saying it means he's going to resign. But undeniably, there has been strategically photos, I think, allowed to be shared of those two standing in the next to each other at the Celtic youth team matches, etc. I think it's all very deliberate, and I think someone's came out of the woodwork once there's trophies now back in the cabinet. Yeah. I believe that to completely. And then you see the Dermot Desmond one, and you go, holy shit, he is, someone put in the live chat, Dermot the Hermit, which had me laughing because he is missing in action most of the time.
Yep.
Suddenly now this is all coming together, and really, as I've always said, they played musical chairs with the boardroom. They did not make massive strategic changes. They played musical chairs. They changed their job titles. They changed their job roles. It's the same as it ever was. Does that give you faith, though, that we're going to progress, or does that give you the fear?
I think I agree with the point about this is deliberate. There's moves being made here to implant thoughts in the fans' head. If this all amounts to nothing, and this is all just a big, charade, a red herring, and nothing happens, they're playing with fire, because they saw what happened in 2021, 2020, that season, the infamous 10 in a row. What happens when they go missing in action and things that the fans are demanding of them? We talked about Lawwell going in quiet around the Dubai trip, and then Desmond was nowhere to be seen and stuff, and then suddenly they're appearing. If this is all just for nothing happens, then I think they can expect a fan backlash. This has to be for something good. I'm going to remain quietly positive that something good's coming down the pipeline with all these pictures and then coming out. I know it's a bit dangerous, and I know there's a whole thing about if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. Maybe I'm being naive, but I think they will be playing with fire if basically this amounts to nothing and it's an underwhelming transfer window and whatnot. I think it would result in.
But you do think it's staged? You do think there's a wee bit of stage work going on?
They're definitely implanting these. They're putting these pictures out there for a reason. There's something, but what it is at the moment, I don't know. But there's methods somewhere in it. But they say if they don't do anything, and this is all just for nothing, then I don't know, it's just a move to soothe their ego or something. I don't know what they're doing. Then they're playing with fire because the fans will really have a bit of a backlash towards them after what happened in 2021.
Look, the reality is, guys, is Ange is pulling up trees to the point where he is being noticed. He's been mentioned constantly. Now, it's not just random articles online. This is Sky Sports, Sky's pundits on TalkSport. They are tooting that Ange Postecoglou horn. Guys like, Tottenham fans like Regan down there wanting him to go to Spurs,
Oh, no.
I'm only playing. But, he's being what's that ex-Spurs player that's on TalkSport? He's really
Jamie O'Hara wants him.
Jamie O'Hara. Yeah. These guys, they're on the big channels talking about Ange Postecoglou now. I wonder if it's a case of damn it. It's popped down to be like, maybe it is to have a proper chat about it and go, look, what's the crack here? Are you committed to the club or are you not?
I think you can do that remotely, though, David. I think you can have the conversation.
But then if Phil says if it's a positive spin, let's say Phil's right. It's all for the promo, It's all for the media.
I think the photographs with Lawwell and Ange is to add credibility among the fan base.
He's right.
A Lawwell appointment get made because they know that if Ange is endorsing something, then people are going to jump on it because Ange we trust. I've got a fear because somebody mentioned it. Maybe you boys say that he's the only person in the club that's got a chairman in his name. And
not executive chairman people like to dwell on.
No.
But if you're the only guy with chairman in your job title, Mark,
you're the
chairman, right?
And I think, Nico Nicholson's been really quiet, and he's very rarely in public. And I think they two know they went to a match or two with Celtic suits on, sat next to each other. So it's a staged photograph. I think the photograph at Celtic Park, the lobby, was taken with the permission of Celtic and posted online with the permission of Celtic. They don't let guys in to take photographs and post. They just don't do that. Listen, there was actually two security. I found out yesterday. The guy next to me told me yesterday he was up at Celtic Park. He got a photograph with Ange just before that. There was two blacked out security vans. That's Dermot Desmond's entourage. That's his security, right? He's a billionaire. So do you think they let Tom the Tim in for Twitter to take photographs of him? No, that's been a staged photograph, and I think it could well be, for David said, hopefully what David says, it's maybe Celtic are putting it there, that's just actions being taken by the top man. He's in here to talk to the manager. I reckon he's probably in because he's got a golf event coming up. But the optics, as we say on here, might be that it's... But it worries me because if Ange and Peter Lawwell are sitting braiding each other's hair, it just doesn't sit well with me, mate, at all. I just don't like it. Just don't like it at all.
No,
Shane Duffy's back.
Yeah, Shane Duffy's back. Like so.
Braiding each other's hair.
Don't forget, boys, say that Seamus Coleman's about to get relegated, and Seamus Coleman's already said he's a big Celtic fan. So Seamus Coleman might be in there.
Oh. You never know. I wonder though. I think there's an element. I know Mark's doing it with a lot of comedy, but there is an element of truth when you see those photos. They are deliberate. It's stage work at its best. We all know, as Mark said, these photos don't come from chance. They're pushed out and they're published because they want that narrative. And I think you're right when you get the rubber stamp of the Ange seal of approval. It takes it to that. Oh, maybe he's not so bad. Because Ange likes him, and that's what they're trying to do right now. They're trying to curry favour again for the big bad wolf. And at the end of the day, he's not the guy that's going to progress Celtic. He's not.
No.
And also, don't forget that I think it was 2 or 3 months ago, people in the press were saying that Peter Lawwell now deserves credit for getting Ange Postecoglou.
If you believe that, you'll believe fucking anything. If you believe that was if you want to land on your luck, then he lucked out that day. That was unbelievable chance. There was nothing about the Postecoglou appointment that was refreshing, innovative, inspired. It was an absolute default chance happening because they blew it for whatever reason with Eddie Howe. Whether Eddie Howe bottled it is irrelevant. You had 4 months to get that gig over the line. You let it become public knowledge that was the guy you wanted. Postecoglou was a luck out moment that will not happen again. It does not happen again. You look at the appointment before that of Neil Lennon and the showers, etc. Again, an impulsive moment, not based on reality. Now, I'm the biggest Lennon advocate, as you know, but that appointment full time was another perfect example of just stick your hand on anything and hopefully put a blindfold on and hopefully it'll work. Pin your tail on the donkey we were talking about earlier with goalkeepers, and that, or defenders, sorry. And that is generally what the whole Lennon appointment full time was. Completely naive and not reading the room and backfired big time when it mattered. And I do believe that the Postecoglou thing was nothing short of complete fluke and complete default that we need someone now who's available, and you get tipped off that this guy might come in. Look at the surroundings Ange had to work in. Look how nobody's taken that job, mate, to do everything on their own, unless it maybe suits them because they back themselves to do it. But that's not what the design was. That's not what the whole future movement of Celtic was going to be. We just get a guy in who's never had any correlation with Celtic, Scottish football before, and we give him free rein to bring in all the players, be the director of football, be the head of coaching, be the manager, and give him all the assistants that were already part of a team that, had very poor results. Come on. Let's not give him credit for that. That was lucking out.
That was luck. I mean, I think Martin Neal was a brilliant appointment by Desmond. I think Rodgers was just a perfect storm of him needing a good job and Celtic needing a good manager that just happened to come in. I think his appointment was. I think if he was as good as what the Celtic board think he was now, I think he would have been the first appointment. Eddie Howe would have been the bottom of the list. So I think he's locked out. But we all know Orwell does creep up when there's trophies when there's a trophy day or whatever. He'll probably pop out and hand over the medals next weekend. I mean,
I want to ask you guys one more question, right? Because we spoke about sentiment for 10 in a row when we kept Edward, we kept Christie, we kept quite a few others. But in terms of Joe Hart, guys, I think he's finished at Celtic. I think yesterday's shown that he's not going to be the long-term one. Do you think we should keep him for another 12 months, or do you think we should try and improve in that position?
Always try and improve, mate. But yesterday was the first time that I thought, that's the first time yesterday, because I thought it was. But I think he's always trying to improve.
You've defended him a lot. And I think the reality, again, like we were saying about other positions, if we're just being completely balanced and fair, I think when you look at Joe Hart with just completely obsidiary eyes, or obituary eyes, whatever the saying is, I think you go, that can be improved on.
I think so.
Is that fair, Phil? You're the voice of reason.
With Joe Hart, he'll still be here for another year. Whether he'll be playing 50 or so games is another story. It's up to us in the summer to sign somebody that can push him. Now, what Terry said on PMP yesterday is spot on. That 3-year deal for Scott Baines suggests that Joe Hart probably will still be the number one for another year, because Scott Baines certainly isn't. And it looks like Steve Grist is a busted flush already.
What do you take away? Forget what Terry said. Not in a bad way. Just what do you think then of the optics, as we say, about that 3-year deal for Scott Bain? What does it signify? What does it mean?
The optics to me it's very typical of Celtic of old, which we were hoping we were away from. This is a guy who is more than happy to probably take reduced terms. I said that to my dad. I went, there's no way they gave Scott Bain a new deal with improved terms, or we're going to give you 3,000 more a week. They probably gave him reduced terms, but he's happy to just go, but I've signed, no problem. To just sit on the bench, go to training every week, and or sit in the stands sometimes and earn X amount of £1,000 a week. He's more than happy with that. It's a bit of a lazy move from Celtic. It's an easy move from Celtic, and Celtic have got a habit of going for the easy and quick move, and that's what they've done. And yet it does suggest to me that Joe Hart will probably still be the number one next season, but if we sign another goalkeeper, it's going to push him, and I don't know if we will. I genuinely don't right now.
No. Does that then mean that we can all accept another example from one of the last two windows that Siegrist was another waste of a signing?
I agree. I agree totally.
Because you don't give him a 3-year deal, do you? If Siegrist has came in and achieved or represented what we thought he was going to do, and we thought he was going to make a compelling argument to fight for number one. Well, I think he fucked it when he went and he did the photos with the rum in his hand with the missus. Second I seen it, not because I'm a killjoy. In fact, I like the nonsense. But when I seen the photo, I went, that's a mistake. The second I seen that photo on his Instagram, whatever it was, it was about 6 months ago. He's out injured, whatever the injury is, and then he's taking a photo with a Captain Morgan's in his hand with the missus on the Ferris wheel, and you thought that ain't going to go down well with the big man. That's not a guy striving for excellence, and that's who's going to take the number one jersey. Now you see Scott Bain gets the 3-year deal. Joe Hart, I think, if we watched enough of the football the last few months, he's not for me the level that if we are going to push on again domestically, domestic bliss is a wonderful thing, and maybe he is good enough for that, but no, I don't think going forward that's the boy.
I can definitely see him another. He's 1 year left on his contract, and he signed a 3-year deal. I can see him seeing out the full contract, but it's at that stage where, when you look at the amount of games we play in a year, Europe, all the domestic cup games and the league, you're looking at 50 or so games, and he probably played about 48, 49 games in the past 12 months for the club. Is he going to do that for another year? We're going to have to sign a goalkeeper that's going to push him, and it's not going to be Siegrist because I think he'll be away in the summer. I think we'll cut our losses and just send him off somewhere. And Bain certainly isn't going to be getting back, and he's just going to sit on the bench. So to me, it just suggests
best job in the world, though, eh?
Oh yeah, oh god, yeah. It's Tony Warner syndrome,
that's out there that's that's really in our region.
Well, I mean, there is a Greek goalkeeper that's coming back to the club that you omitted from your list earlier on, David.
He's conceded 45 goals this season and only get 10 clean sheets. Now, it's a much more difficult league, and I consider apparently that was a good season.
It's pulling out stats, David, eh? Just pulling out stats. How did you know that?
I've got it written down here. Got a script. No, I was looking into how our loan players had done this season. 30 appearances, 45 goals conceded. For
Barkas,
10 clean sheets. We can get a 5 million back on him. That's ridiculous.
Would you take Barkas back, Regan?
No. Don't think the guy could.
I think being in a different environment than he was in that season may help slightly, but I think the comments he made was damning, and I think that's enough that he's.
I'll never forget that training clip. Remember pre-match? He just stood there every single shot. He just stood and watched them go in. I think once you do that, you've crossed a line for me.
David De Gea, he's
that was a try mark.
Just looks.
I've never seen anyone chuck the toys at the pram like that before. We just went, oh wow, like he doesn't give a fuck. I seen your message, Mark. No worries.
Right, hey guys.
Not bad, mate.
Thanks for the show. I'm going to head out. Thanks very much. Brilliant show as always.
Cheers.
These guys entertaining. Guys, cheers, guys.
I think when you look at that Barkas situation, you've got to be honest and go, that to me is the day off tomorrow stuff for Juranovic.
I
think when you look at Barkas just standing there, Ange goes, do you know what? You had a wee bit of adversity. You had deliberate criticism because you were part of a failing team. How'd you bounce? Look at Cal McGregor's reaction to that season. That's the levels. That's how you react. And Barkas, to me, he chucked it. And once you've chucked it, you don't get that second chance.
You don't get carrots at Celtic, mate.
Yes.
What was it? Don't give me carrots.
Unless you're a donkey.
Big Kenny says, Celtic will give you carrots, boysy.
Aye.
Right, mate.
No carrots.
I just can't even think of any goalkeepers out there that really you could say.
Is that going to be the problem then? So we can't improve on Joe Hart because we don't know if there's any other
what I
goalkeepers
mean,
out
it's-
there.
It's not our job to know, I suppose. Eh?
I
Like,
know.
I mean, it's one of the ones that's like, oh, I can't think. Well, right, David. Well, you aren't actually the scout for Celtic. Don't worry about it. Leave it to the professionals. But like, there's nobody out there that I go, well, that's a guy that I would like us to look at.
Jack Butland.
Jack Butland, he's the Rangers now, man. Aye.
I mean, what I said on Thursday, I'm still going to stick to. I think everybody we sign is someone none of us have heard of them. So you have to be a real football hipster to hear of some of the guys we sign. I don't see us signing anybody totally mainstream that we know and is established and stuff like that. And that's not a bad thing. That's not like, it's worked so far with many signings that Ange has made. But yeah, when it comes to the goalkeeper thing, though, Ange is definitely looking for a very specific goalkeeper, one that can also play with his feet.
Playing with their feet, right?
Yeah. Keep the ball at the net is obviously the priority, but
because see, at the end of the day, is that going to? Aye, I get it. I get that totally. If you want the heart effect for what he can bring off the field as well, I think Schmeichel does it, and I think he saves a hell of a lot more shots.
I mean, he went to that French team and he fell out with the owner within for 5 minutes.
Oh, did he?
Aye.
I don't see. I think he's still a cracker player. He's played in our shows before.
Falkirk. He was on loan at Falkirk, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Aye, Casper.
Same as who was the Dutch goalie? Timmy Krul.
Timmy Krul.
He was at Falkirk as well.
He was, aye.
Was he still
playing at World Cups? Both of them have played for Falkirk.
Louis Van Gaal's master plan. He had that.
I wonder if that's the balancing act that's going to be very tricky because yes, you want out the ball playing centre back to suit Celtic's football, but is that going to be really the terms that we're in when we're in the Champions League? Or are we going to be up against it?
We'll go up against it. We're in the trenches.
We're going to be up against it. You want to, first and foremost, that's when you then go to a Fraser Forster argument. You go, Kimmy's good at keep the ball at the fucking net.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that will be a more compelling argument than the ball playing side. But that's a balancing act that Ange will need to do.
And I think for Joe Hart as well, like, I know people say he's great in the dressing room, but he wants something to challenge me. Like, he doesn't want Scott Bain to be kicking balls on him every day and knowing that his position's going to be...
It's not right, eh?
See, no matter whether Joe had a really bad game, every Celtic fan knows that he's going to be playing. Like, I'm not being disrespectful, but I just want to give an example. Like, if you go to Rangers, right, that guy McCrory who played last week, McCrory could be the number one goalkeeper, but they went, we're going to go get Jack Butland. So
they're not going to get Jack Butland. I don't think they're going to get Jack Butland.
No,
I think McCrory. Why is he still at that club? I think the Rangers fans have calling for McCrory to be the number one goalkeeper. Any Rangers fan that I've spoken to in the last year, I've said I don't understand why McCrory doesn't get games. And let's face it, he played against us. He played against us in the game that we lost in Ange's first game as Celtic manager against Rangers, and he played well, and he did everything that he did against us in the 3-0 defeat. Alan McGregor isn't capable of doing anymore, and I think that's shown quite significantly. The sort of sweeper keeper role.
Joe Hart to get to that space where next season you're having that Alan McGregor moment where you go, he can't do it. I don't want that. I don't want that to be befitting what he's done for Celtic either. But I also argue the point. For as good as Joe Hart has been for Celtic, I think Celtic's been very, very, very good for Joe Hart.
Massively.
And I think that's not me being disrespectful. I think they also need to know our own worth. And you go, Joe Hart was toiling at Burnley, toiling in the third choice at Spurs. I think him coming into winning league titles, playing Champions League football again has been like a fairy tale for him a wee bit as well. And we need to just have a wee bit of respect for ourselves a wee bit and go, do you know what? For as good as Joe Hart's been for us, we've been very good for Joe Hart. That's not being a dick.
No, because we've just spoke about for the past 12 months about Celtic being ruthless and relentless and knowing that Ange will be one of the best players. Well, I'm sorry, but see if Ange sees during pre-season that Joe Hart's past his sell by day and he's no getting to crosses the same, he's no stopping shots the same, then I'm sure Ange would try and do his best, because what's the point of keeping a guy there because he's good in the dressing room?
I love that for John Kerr, who's just popped up in the chat. He says it will be a sweeper keeper, it'll be a cheaper keeper.
Aye.
Good battle, John. I do think it's an area that we're still to really find out a wee bit about Ange. With hindsight, we do the Bustalgias and you go, Martin O'Neill had a blind spot for goalies, didn't he? To an extent. But you only know it because he was there for 5 years and we could then base it on the signings he made. And maybe there was options like Sanchez Broto, for example, that I think he missed a trick with him. I was like, he's better than what we've got. I wonder if in time we'll go, is that a position Ange's maybe just not got the best talent spotting abilities for? We'll find out.
Remember, we've been linked with Matthew Ryan. It was he went off to
Ryan, yeah.
Oh, Villarreal was it he joined?
Yeah, but he's currently, I think he's in the German league or something. Where is he now?
Yeah, something strange.
Oh, is it?
I'm sure he went to the Spanish league initially. Matthew Ryan, is that the Australian goalie?
Australian goalkeeper.
Aye.
Yes, he's currently playing for Copenhagen.
Copenhagen,
aye.
FC Copenhagen.
He's in Denmark.
Yep.
He's playing in Denmark.
Wow.
Now,
So that tells you he was an affordable signing then.
Yep, and he's one of the first guys that we were kind of linked with. Now, we argued that might have been lazy journalism, but I think there was an actual conversation had there. I'm sure he mentioned Celtic in interviews.
Is that another target that Ange has been missed out on? That he's identified that they've not actually got over the line. You just don't know. Yeah. I think it's easy to sound like you're being very reactionary and knee jerk when you criticise the likes of Joe Hart, but I think for me you're using your eyes now and you're going, look, we're at a stage where she's drinking water louder than any other dog in the history of the world. Can you hear that?
A wee bit, aye.
I think she was drinking at the Pacific Ocean. Jesus Christ, it's just a dog bowl, Megan. But I just wonder if sometimes you again, we could be overanalyzing. We might be, we might not be. I just wonder if Ryan, as an example of a signing, is someone that was identified that we didn't get over the line.
And I think that was basically said in Joe Hart's first interview with Celtic. He says that I was talking to Neil Lennon 12 months ago, but I've been joining Celtic, so obviously that's someone that Celtic had identified 12 months ago.
Yeah, he was already on the list.
Prior, aye.
Yep.
I go back to the whole attracting players to come and play for Scotland. Matty Ryan got offered Villarreal, a very good mid-table Spanish team. I mean, who wants to play in Scotland when you could be playing in Spain, living it up?
I get that.
It's because you can almost understand why we missed out on that guy. If it was
Europa League winners just a couple of years ago.
But does that mean then you need to make a more compelling argument for these guys? You need to push the boat out sometimes, because you're right. Selling Scottish League isn't the easiest job in the world.
Yeah.
So you've got to then give other incentives, and if that becomes with wage structures, etc., these boundaries need to be pushed as well.
Go for Schmeichel, Ange. Go for Schmeichel.
Bring him home.
Bring him home.
Bring him home.
The answer to our problems, Kasper Schmeichel, 10-year deal.
Yes.
Exactly. Absolutely. Well, that's been an hour and a half, guys. I think that's a good time to wrap it up, eh?
It's been great fun.
Yeah,
it's been good. I've enjoyed that today.
Really good.
So, again, thanks everybody for joining us on this Dignified Sunday Blether. Make sure you visit ED Pharmacy if you want to keep going a little bit longer. But I've not taken it.
That's how we got extra half hour at you, David. ED Pharmacy, that's how we got extra half hour at you. You're going to be out after an hour. The proof is in the pudding. ED Pharmacy is working at strict. David Lowe got to an hour and a half, mate.
Usually more than 20 minutes. But anyway, I don't make sure that I've got my pie, sports pies in the oven, so I'm going to go grab that. And it's not going to be that type of American pie, by the way, before you try and put those two and two together. All right. So, like, share, subscribe. Don't tell folk I said that. All right. And have a good Sunday, guys. See you next week.
Catch you later, guys. See ya.